Good morning, Veterans Day 2015. That's November 11th, honoring our perished ones, those who have served and fought for us. You're listening to the Thomas Loop Radio Show here at AM 1440 WJJL. I have musical guest Aaron M. of the Revenge Therapists, which will be featuring their music momentarily. I have a gentleman on line one who is Esquire magazine named one of America's best writer while he was at the New York Post. He's a multi-Emmy Award winner for writing and producing, and in his 27th year of producing the sports reporters on ESPN, he is the author of Second to None, The Relentless Drive and Impossible Dream of the Buffalo Bills by Triumph Books. It's Joe Valerio. Joe, thank you for joining us again.
Pleasure to be here.
Joe, man, that was an impressive victory on Sunday. Bills-Dolphins, complete team victory.
Well, I get the feeling it's like a playoff game here in New York this Thursday night, which I find kind of fascinating between a 5-3 team and a 4-4 team. But, you know, people are excited. There's no getting around it. It's going to be a kind of a benchmark game for both teams, I guess.
Yes, big time, and it feels good to have almost an entire squad healthy once again, that being the Buffalo Bills going into tomorrow, the game being on NFL Network. I believe it starts at 8:30. And, you know, Tyrod Taylor, extremely efficient, up there in completion percentage. He's over 70%. One incompletion. The running game's on all cylinders. Watkins is on all cylinders. What are your thoughts going in tomorrow?
Well, I think really the running game is more important than the passing game right now. You know, we're getting into the cold weather months, if you will, and you know, that was always the real signature of the NFC East when it was so powerful. You know, the ability to run the ball, and I think the same is going to apply here. I mean, the Patriots are, you know, just on a whole different level than everybody else. But, you know, the Jets are going to try and run the ball, and so will the Bills. And the conditions may not be great tomorrow night.
Right.
You know, we've had some rain and swirling winds and all of that. And the other thing that's kind of interesting, I think, is now we're going to start to see how the extra point plays out during the last couple of months of the season. You know, you're going to have your swirling winds, your gusts, and you're going to see guys missing extra points, and that'll be pivotal in some of these games, I think.
Yeah, it is. It certainly will be, being that it's 33 yards out now rather than the 20.
Right.
You helped in a year ago. His name is Joe Valerio. He's the author of Second to None, The Relentless Drive and Impossible Dream of the Super Bowl Bills. Now, you seem like you're pushing the book to another level. I was getting a hint. You sent me a message not too long ago. And obviously, simple math tells us it'll be 25 years since Super Bowl 25 with that great first Super Bowl Bills team from the 1990-91 season.
Well, that was a great team, and you know, they played one of the great Super Bowls against the Giants that night in Tampa. It was the first Super Bowl that was played at night. You know, it was played under the Persian Gulf War. You know, it was a very dramatic time in our nation's history. You know, everyone that I talked to about that game all remembered Whitney Houston singing the national anthem. And, you know, it was a rematch of a game that had been played in December between the Giants and the Bills, and the Bills won. A game in which both Jim Kelly and Phil Simms got hurt.
Yep.
Simms did not come back. Kelly came back in the playoffs and played well. And then, you know, you had this incredible, you know, matchup. And the Giants basically won by controlling the clock. You know, they controlled the ball for 39 minutes in that game. And even though Kelly and Thurman Thomas and company, they went on a nice run from their own 10 down to the Giants' 30, you know, the ball sailed right into the night on the field goal attempt, and, you know, it was done. And that's as close as the Bills have ever come to winning a Super Bowl. And it would be wonderful to see them get back into the playoffs this year.
Yes.
I mean, you know, you just don't go to the Super Bowl out of the blue, I don't think. I think you have to have stepping stones along the way. And, you know, I thought last year was a good stepping stone for them.
Right.
I thought when they lost to Oakland late in the season, that was a really bad loss. But, you know, now you see how the Oakland Raiders have been playing this year. And, I know they had a tough loss last Sunday to the Steelers, but the Raiders are a coming team. Derek Carr's a good quarterback. He's got some nice receivers, and you're going to be hearing from them in the future.
Very fluid arm motion, Derek Carr of Oakland. Right. He does certainly look good. I think Tyrod Taylor's got a very fluid arm motion, and what a season he's having. 6 games into it, his 6 starts. He's 4-2. Throws a great long ball, too. That touchdown to Sammy Watkins over the Miami Dolphins this past
Sammy
Sunday.
Watkins is one of the terrific players that they have. I mean, and he makes big plays, and you have to have a guy like that. The Jets are hoping that Brandon Marshall's that guy, okay?
Right.
And that's what makes this an interesting matchup. I mean, when you get past all the bluster, from Rex, the Bills, I don't think the Bills can really afford to go 4-5 after this game, okay? I think that would be, a tough loss for them. I realize, you're going to see playoff teams this year coming out of the AFC wildcards and stuff with a 9-7 record, maybe even an 8-8 record. They're all bunched up so much, but you really want to start to control your destiny as you get into the second half of the season.
I have a guest in studio, Aaron Masters. Right now, he's also my former collegiate track teammate at our alma mater. College inside of just up north of downtown Buffalo, New York. Do you have any questions for Joe Valerio?
Good morning, Joe. No, actually, it's pretty fun just sitting here listening to the commentary. Definitely have to check out the book. Definitely grew up in that era, and those are an exciting 4 years in Buffalo. And I definitely want to say that I think the Western New York is definitely charged back up, I think, for this season, and people are very anxious to get back to the playoffs and, at least see what happens. So
right. But, the remarkable thing about those Bills teams is they had 5 guys go into the Hall of Fame, along with Marv Levy. I mean, it's just an extraordinary, talented bunch of players. And the 4 teams that they played in those Super Bowls never had that many Hall of Fame players on the field. So they really were a special group, as Bill Parcells said.
What do you have cooking for the sports reporters this Sunday, Joe?
Well, we're going to be looking at the University of Missouri story for sure. And I'm very interested in the Major League Baseball domestic violence policy.
Right.
Which is certainly different than the NFL's. We hit the Greg Hardy story pretty hard last Sunday. Most people feel that, he shouldn't be on the field, but there's nothing you can do about it legally. What makes it so unseemly, I believe, is the fact that, you had Jerry Jones calling him a leader and things like that. And then, of course, when you see the photographs of the attack on his old girlfriend, former girlfriend, it's really hard to stomach. When you realize how big and strong and powerful these people are, and the harm that they are inflicting on women, it's just beyond disturbing, I think.
Yes, I'm also fascinated by the acceleration toward the forefront of media in a different capacity that Deadspin was able to get a hold of those pictures. They sort of legitimize what they do seems like it happens every 2 to 3 months.
Well, the whole thing, when you have evidence like that and you see it, it's different looking at the photographs than it is hearing about something. And that's what really happened with the Ray Rice case. I think everyone agrees that, you've heard about it, but then when you actually saw what happened, and, the cynical thing is, Rice is not back in the NFL because they don't think he can play anymore or contribute, okay?
Right.
They feel that Greg Hardy can play, so he's got a job. And that's a hell of a way to run a business.
Yeah, that is a slight understatement on your part. His name is Joe Valerio, author of Second to None, The Relentless Drive and Impossible Dream of the Super Bowl Bills, TriumphBooks.com, sold at any Barnes & Noble pretty much across the United States. Let's go back to the book. Do you have anything that you're campaigning toward the book at this time, or do you have any ideas toward accelerating it to where it was last year?
Well, we're in our second printing, which is very nice. It's basically a story of a group of men who suffered, a difficult loss at the end of the season and had the ability and the resolve and the resilience and the fortitude to put that behind them and to work their way back to the championship game in each of the following years. And that's just such a remarkable achievement. And that's really at the heart of the book.
Right.
Who these people were and, where that kind of drive came from. A lot of it came from their parents that wouldn't tolerate them quitting, in high school football. A lot of it came from, the coaches. But basically, it's the way they bonded together. And, this was an era before really free agency took flight,
yep.
where, guys stayed on the same team for a number of years. So you really developed a stronger bond than may exist today where players move around quite frequently.
And also the salary cap was in its infancy. I believe it was 92 when it happened. Mm-hmm. So it was right, but they even had that team together for that long. It was pretty remarkable. What was if there's a signature Buffalo Bill from that team, what would it be? What would that Buffalo Bill be?
Oh, a signature moment, it's a strange thing. I think the signature moment from that era is, obviously it's the Scott Norwood kick, okay? That's what everybody will always remember. And it's a shame because Norwood is a real stand-up guy. He was very strong that night. He didn't sulk and hide. He faced the media. He did an interview with ABC Sports on national TV after the game. He stood in there. They didn't carry him off the field that night, but he carried himself like a man, like he would want someone to do. Okay,
he absolutely did.
I think Don Beebe, chasing down, Leon Lett. I think that's one of the most dramatic moments in a runaway game. It was 52-17. It was right at the end of the game, and Leon Lett was kind of whooping his way, showboating his way into the end zone, trying to emulate, Michael Irvin, who had scored a couple of touchdowns earlier in the game.
Yes.
And showboated a bit. And, Beebe just raced him down across the field and knocked the ball loose for a touchback. And, that really showed the character of that team, that they really, even when they were completely humiliated, they didn't give up, okay?
That's true.
And, that was the last game that Bill Polian was associated with the Bills. And, he said that it broke his heart just watching that game to see his guys get beat up like that, battered and knocked around. He said it was really hard for him to watch.
It really has to be personal. If you're a general manager piecing together that team, such as Bill Polian was, it really had to hit him in the gut. And going back to that Scott Norwood, I recall, maybe you have too, Aaron, the more of like a thank you rally in Niagara Square in Buffalo, New York, and Scott Norwood once again manned up, just like you just said, Joe. And
magnificent scene. I understand. It was a magnificent scene down there, and the fans demanded to hear from him, and they gave him their support. That's quite a moment. It was quite a moment.
His name is Joe Valerio. The book is Second to None, The Relentless Drive and Impossible Dream of the Super Bowl Bills by Triumph Books. You can look at it at triumphbooks.com. To purchase, it'll be available on the thomasloop.com site as well. Also, you can get it at pretty much any Barnes & Noble. I want to thank you very much, Joe, once again. Got to do this again before the season's over.
Have a great time tomorrow night at the game. It should be a fun game.
Yes, you too, Joe. Take care.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe Valerio, The Relentless Drive of the Super Bowl Bills is the subtitle. And the book is Second to None. He's been on, I think this is his fourth time.